So here's my code for a children's digital activity book. Up top we have three global variables and an empty array. Scene, which is very important to the program, var playing, and var star num. Next is the con button class, which involves object-oriented programming. And then we draw the first scene, which is a variable which equals a function, and the scene itself, which is shapes and colors. And then we have a start button using the object-oriented programming, new button, XY conditions, label, and then the onClick function, which adds 1 to the current scene, which when presses, so it's 0, which would make scene 1 after pressing the start button. The ocean scene is pretty interesting because it uses for loops to draw. Let's check it out. Right here, where it's one arc, but because of the for loop and the variables in the arc here, when the loop is repeated, it is drawing the same arc with different x and y coordinates, so it gives the impression of waves on an ocean. Then we have a new object type for stars here, which is for another scene here, that creates a object class with this.x, this.y, and the prototype, which has this.x, this.y on all the triangles. And then a for loop, which will, depending on star num, which is one of our global variables, will push a new star prototype into our empty array. And then in our scene, we draw each star in that array based on the star number, which will make stars in random x and y coordinates. And then we have another object-oriented programming here with a spot the difference program here, where each of these scenes is actually the same object, but with the color switched up right here, where it says the fill, the this dot color x, this dot color y, and on a Bezier, which is a water drop, and then the leaf is this dot disappear, which makes the size so small that it isn't even visible. Next, we have the other buttons where we have our conditionals, where if scene is less than 10 and you hit the next button, then scene will add 1 to itself. And then if scene equals true, it will draw scene 2. If scene equals 3, draw scene 3, and continues all the way down to 10. Our previous button, our back button, is similar to this, only that if scene is greater than 0, then scene will subtract from itself instead of adding. And if scene is equal to 0, it will draw the splash screen, and playing will equal false. Playing is right here, is a condition that if playing, so if playing equals true, then it will draw the text, which is choose color and page, and it will also draw our color buttons and our next, back, and reset buttons. So going back up to the previous button, if scene equals 1, draw scene 1. If scene equals 2, draw scene 2. The reset button is very similar, except that it doesn't change the value of our global variable scene. Instead, if scene equals 1, then it will draw scene 1 again, which means it will erase what's drawn by these colors. And speaking of the color buttons are cool because the onClick function has a mouse dragged function in it, which will draw an ellipse at mouse x, mouse y with a different fill color. So that is what that line is. That is just a bunch of different circles, all with that same fill color being drawn over the scene.